Now, before we get to that break, there's a kind of a quarterback prospect recently that's gotten some steam that is probably a little bit polarizing behind the doors for NFL teams. And that's Spencer Rattler from South Carolina. I've seen the stuff on Twitter recently where, I think this time of year, people have dug past the first round guys and they're starting to get into, some of the guys that maybe won't go day one. I think Spencer Rattler absolutely falls into that tier. But talent-wise, I think when you watch him play at South Carolina, you can still see some of the reasons why, he was a top recruit. When he got to Oklahoma for his first year, he was outstanding. To start off his second year, he was over Caleb Williams on the depth chart. I know, there's some seniority stuff there, and he did end up losing the job due to some pretty shaky play. But there's something there. I think he's got some off the field and some stuff that he's going to have to figure out with teams before they feel comfortable spending maybe a premium pick on him. But just as far as the skills go, where would you put him with the other quarterbacks in this class?
Yeah, so Spencer's really, really interesting. And I did South Carolina's Pro Day. I was on site there a couple of weeks ago for him, Xavier Legette, and a couple of other guys that they have coming out this year. And it was my first time actually interacting and meeting with him. So I talked to him before and after the Pro Day. I have a story a little later in a couple of seconds that I'll tell. That's really, really funny that I love, that I'll never forget. But just being there, watching his throwing session, everything's just so effortless with Spencer. He throws on balance, he's on time. He's going to be in command, telling everybody where to go. If he didn't like a route or how somebody ran it, he would tell them to redo it. And that's what you love to see, especially from a quarterback, just having that type of command, wanting to be a perfectionist, even at his pro day. And then we're talking about a guy, 2 years ago, that some people say could be the number one overall pick with Sam Howell. It's just funny to see how everything changes over time with the draft process. But 2 years ago, he was seen somebody that was a candidate for the number one overall pick. So everybody knows that he had the talent. But just talking to Spencer before the pro day, before things really got going, and I asked him about the QB1 Netflix documentary. I had never watched it before, but I heard there wasn't a lot of great things on there about him, and it rubbed off, or he came off, his personality just wasn't great on there. But he said, just imagine putting a camera in the face of a 16 or 17-year-old knowing I'm the number one prospect in the country. He said, I just wasn't very mature back then. And that's something that I've told teams at the combine. I'm completely different. And the experience at Oklahoma really humbled me. And that's just the type of wake-up call that I needed. But talking to Shane Beamer before the pro day, once again at the pro day about Spencer, he was like, we named him a team captain ever since he walked through the door, and he's been a model citizen ever since he's gotten here. We haven't had any hiccups or setbacks with him since he got here. But the story that I love to tell now, and this is my first time telling it. So every year I have what's called my quarterback hot board that I produce on ESPN Plus that I write up. So I have Spencer as my 7th ranked quarterback behind Penix and Nix right now. So he was like, Mr. Reid, I've been waiting to meet you. I don't know why he called him Mr., but Mr. Reid, I've been waiting to meet you. He said, I read your quarterback hot board this morning, and I saw that I was the 7th guy. And he said, that changes today. So I just love that confidence about him, and just having that type of confidence. You love to see that type in a quarterback. So just talking about his draft projection, if you're a team late second, early third, why not take him? So like the Rams with Stafford, we know Stafford's on the back end of his career. I think he would be a great backup to Stafford. I know they just took Stetson Bennett, but I think Rattler is a much better prospect overall than what Stetson Bennett is. But one that's really interesting to me, and we don't have to get too deep into it, but if you're like Miami, why not? Why not take somebody like Spencer Rattler as a backup? We know that Tua has a big decision coming up with the extension, if they do extend him or not. And we both know Tua has been injury prone throughout his career. So if you're looking for a high-end backup, or what I like to call a lottery ticket, if you're somebody like Miami who's stylistically similar to Tua as far as operating over the middle of the field, who can do the RPO stuff, and then you already have a plethora of weapons with Waddle and Tyreek Hill, why not take somebody like a Spencer Rattler on day 2? So I think he's very, very interesting. but the confidence and the maturity that I got from him at Pro Day, I mean, I like him a lot. Now, I can't speak of what happened in the past, but just based off what he told me at Pro Day and my experience with Spencer Rattler, I definitely think he's different than what he showed on the Netflix documentary, the QB1, and then also what he showed at Oklahoma. He's just a different person now.
I will say that's totally fair. Lord knows I was not the same person at 22 as I was at 16. From as I turned 30 in a couple of months, definitely not the same person I was at 22, for good reasons. So yeah, I think that people should get a chance to change and grow. And look, I watched tape. I'm excited. The only thing I really have a question mark about with him is what happened at the combine, dude. Like, why are you out here running a 5-second 40? I just don't think he's that slow. Well, I'll never confuse him for Lamar Jackson or, Justin Fields. But hey, I think he's a little faster than a 5.0. So we'll have to see what happens there. I gotta say, I think he's one of the most fascinating, not only just like draft range outcomes, but also like the outcomes of what his career can be in the future, because he does have a bunch of potential. I think a good spot for him, like the Rams would be a great spot for him. Anywhere where he can sit and just figure out how to be professional for a little bit, because the upside's there and it's worth tapping into. They just got to figure it out.